Welcome to Western Wisconsin Journal. I'm Bobby Pominville, and I'm your arts reporter. And today we're going to have an interview that will tell you what they do at the Phipps, technical things. And I don't think I've ever talked to Mark before. So Mark Koski, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
He is the tech director at the Phipps. Now, what on earth do you do? I mean, I know you have a lot of different jobs.
Well, it's more or less what I don't do.
Really?
That
means you do everything.
Yes, it's a jack of all trade, master of none. Really,
That's
is what it
I
is.
thought.
My job responsibilities are to supervise the volunteers in the shop, mainly the scene shop where we do all the construction of the sets. The
Oh, I
painting,
see you doing that, in fact.
and to figure out how to take the designer's vision and turn it into reality. If you kind of equate it to like a construction job, architecture, you would say the scenic designer is the architect and I'm just the foreman.
But that must be a massive job.
It is. What I typically do is when I am given the designs for a production, for instance, we are in the beginning stages of our February show, which is Disney's Mulan Jr.
Oh, I heard about that.
And I'm given those designs. I sit down and I plan out how each piece is going to be built. And how much it's going to cost. And in fact, what I typically do is I will take each piece and I will build it in virtual reality in the computer as a 3D model to figure out every misstep that we could possibly take and eliminate that so that once it gets into the shop where the volunteers start to build it, they aren't lost for time. They don't, hopefully, 95% of the mistakes are removed before it actually hits reality.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you working back in the days when you had to actually draw it out?
When I went through undergrad school and
Yes.
Graduate school,
Yes.
I hand drafted.
You did?
Yes, I still have a lot of my templates from back then and my pencils and scale rulers, a lot of that stuff. So if the worst ever happens, I can still make a living drafting.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
But to get the job at the Phipps, that would seem to me to be a very, very nice job for you.
Oh, it is a fabulous facility.
Really?
It really is. When I first came over here from grad school, I got my graduate degree in scenography from the University of Minnesota in 1994, and I was applying for a position that I saw in the paper to do the lights and the scenery for Arthur Miller's All My Sons at the Phipps, and I had never been to Hudson. I'm a North Dakota boy. But
well, I know that, and I might as well tell you I am a North Dakota girl, so you know what? I already like you, so.
Thank you.
We have backgrounds. So
yes, we do.
There you go.
But I had never been to Hudson before, and I was driving over here from the cities, and I'm thinking Hudson, it's a suburb. It must be a converted barn or a church. Which a lot of community theaters are.
And it used to be the new church.
And I pulled up to that facility and I said, "This can't be it. This cannot be it. This is beautiful."
Shocked.
I was floored because I walked into that scene shop, and there's not really a scene shop like that in the Twin Cities. That size, that well equipped, that is directly connected to
now,
a stage.
I didn't know that.
Well, a lot of the theaters over in the Twin Cities have huge shops larger than we've got.
Oh.
The problem is those shops are not directly connected to the stage. You can't roll large scenic units right out onto the stage.
And you can.
Yes, we can. And it's great considering that we are a multifunction facility.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah. So, for instance, we just did Festival Chorus, which you were in.
Yes.
And as soon as that was over, we loaded in the Best Christmas Pageant.
I heard that too, because I know we had to, well, I shouldn't say me, but a lot of the people went to work on the risers in the
Oh, yes,
back.
yes.
The, what do you call the shell?
The band shell,
And we were told we can't leave until that's done. Of course, I went and hid in the kitchen. No, I didn't. But anyway, I know that was just a big rush, and then get that on the stage, and I suppose it went on the next. Very soon
actually,
there was a rehearsal or something.
we teched it the next day, which is where we take the technical aspects, the lighting and the sound and scene shifts,
Right.
and we throw that all together, throw it all at the actors all at once.
Wow.
In that particular case, and we opened the show 4 days later.
Oh, and that
So
is
that's a tight turnaround.
that is a very popular show.
It is, and we sold out all the shows, and
I
it was a
just knew it.
fantastic production. I was really pleased with
I
it.
know everybody just buzzes about that around town,
Mm-hmm.
how good it is, and then you involve all different age groups,
Oh yes,
and there's children in it.
yes.
And
they
I mean, it
love
is
it.
a great story. Very appealing for the holidays. So I just think that's wonderful. And I know White Christmas was sold out, and I attended. But little bit more about Mulan. Because you know what? There's a buzz out there.
That's good.
The kids have been waiting and waiting, and some of the kids I know at middle school are just dying to be in it.
Oh sure.
And I hope some of my contacts are in it, but I don't know. But anyway, the Disney ones are very popular.
Yes, this is, I believe. Let me think here. I believe this will be my third Disney show that I've done.
Really?
Yeah, in just like the last, I want to say 3 or 4 years. I did.
Yeah, tell us what the others were.
I did Disney's Beauty and the Beast at Hudson High School
I
a
love
couple
that.
of years ago, which was absolutely
That
phenomenal
was so fabulous.
show. Yes, oh, gorgeous, gorgeous.
That is one of my favorites.
And then we did just this past February, just 9 months ago.
Right.
We did Disney's Little Mermaid. Junior.
Right. Oh, that's another popular one.
And that show was one of my favorites as far as I designed that show and did the sets and the lights for it. And I think it turned out really, really well. And I'm not saying that because
would
I was
say so.
involved in it, but
No.
I think John Potter did a fabulous job directing it.
Oh, yes.
And I think that the cast was, it blew me away. There's so much talent
Well, that is true.
in this community.
And of course, we also have people from all over the valley acting.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids from all the different schools across the river and all of that, they all try out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very prestigious to get at that part and act at the Phipps. I mean, those budding actors must love it.
It's not, I would say the Phipps is not your standard community theater. I think that I'm probably going to be sounding a little modest. I think we're a step between community theater and professional theater in the kind of
Wow.
quality that we put out and the kind of talent pool that there is in this general area. It just amazes
that
me.
is just amazing, and I'm just so proud of that whole theater thing, as well as all the other facets of the Phipps are just wonderful.
Oh.
But we are known for that. I mean, the drama is right up there, and I enjoy that facet too, because when I was teaching, I used to do all the musicals at the elementary level.
Okay.
And I am hooked on them. Let me tell you, and it's such fun to go there and see this wonderful production with everything working in the scenery and occasionally, a lot of kids that I know. So
Oh, sure.
fun for me.
Yeah.
Now, will Mulan be China?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
So you're going to have some really different sets.
Yes. The set is the scenic designer.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Took elements from Chinese art
Really?
and kind of incorporated that into the show. The show has got a real Chinese feel to it, I guess.
Good.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of the Chinese characters on stage as far as the alphabet, and we're using bamboo. We're going to be using steel and wood, and I mean all sorts of things, just to help bring this show to life.
That's just wonderful. Oh, I just must. We're going to have to encourage the audience to go to it.
Oh, I think so.
Definitely have
I think it's going to be a good production.
Can you just tell us? You don't have to tell the dates, but when is it playing? February?
We open. Is it Valentine's Day? I always forget.
Okay.
Whatever
Well, that's a
Friday
good-
that is. It could be Friday the 13th again. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, then that'll be helpful for the audience and
Yeah.
people listening to.
It's right around Valentine's Day. Yes.
Perfect. And I forget how many shows they do.
Let's see. We will be doing 4 shows a week. Let's see. Friday, 2 on Saturday, and 1 on Sunday.
Yeah.
For 3 weekends.
3 weekends.
3 weekends.
Oh, that's quite a commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Well,
very
White
good.
Christmas went 5 weekends, if I remember.
Oh,
right.
was one added?
Yes.
I
Yes.
thought so. Okay, so we talked a little bit about this. I don't know if you want to embellish. What shows are you most proud of, and tell us why?
Well, I'm proud of. I'm proud of almost every single one we put out there.
Well,
And
you
it's just-
should be
it's-
really.
It's like a child, you know,
Yes.
when you put a set up there, and I am often asked, how can we put all this work into it for just a couple of weekends? And I say, well, why not?
Well, that's
You know,
true.
if you're going to do it right, and
Well, yeah.
make it look good, not just for the audience, but for the cast as well.
Yes.
know.
I think that you've got the right attitude
And
there.
but you know, as to answer your question,
Yeah.
which are my favorites? I think Beauty and the Beast. But that was we did a Beauty and the Beast at the Phipps. That was not the Disney version, where we actually put up about, I want to say 24 trees. St.
my.
Pat's was clear cutting their cemetery.
Oh.
And we were able to get about 24 trees that were maybe about
You
maybe
mean real trees?
8 to 10 inches in diameter, and tree trunks with
my
some branches
goodness.
still on them. And we put them up on stage, and we built a set within it to make the Beast's forest
Oh
castle,
my!
which was just an absolutely beautiful production.
That has to be
I always say,
wonderful.
only in theater do we cut down trees to put trees back up.
That's interesting, but the fact that they were going to cut them anyway, that's fine.
Exactly. So we
That's
just let them
made a
sit in the
use for
shop
them.
for a couple of months to dry out, and then we hung them from the ceiling to get a plumb line on them.
Mm-hmm.
Took a chainsaw to cut them level and lag screwed them to some plywood, and they stood on their own on
I
stage.
never would have thought of that.
And some other productions, I mentioned The Little Mermaid,
Oh yes.
Guys and Dolls, which
Oh, I remember that one.
I did the set for, and I was also Sky Masterson.
That's another
that was
facet I
fun.
wanted to tap
That was a lot of
into,
fun.
your acting. And Sky Masterson is a great role.
Yes, it is. The second time I've had the
and
honor
I
to play
do
it.
think you fit that role. You know, you have a certain look about you.
Well, thank
and
you.
I would say that would be perfect. And then the other one I remember is, weren't you in Sherlock Holmes?
No.
Well, then it was an English play.
The last show that I was on stage was Agatha Christie's The Hollow. And I got to
Oh.
die on stage at the end of the act.
Oh,
yes.
my.
I was shot. I was the villain. I was the murder victim.
That takes some acting.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would be a tough thing to act out.
Yeah, because you really have nothing to pull from.
No.
As far as an actor. No, you really, you know, you've never experienced dying before. So
Well,
you can only
you've
guess
been
at it.
in other shows. I recall seeing you but I can't tell you the names of them.
One of my favorites was Drop Dead, which we did.
Oh, that's a great one.
We did that. It opened on Good Friday.
I
years
saw
ago,
that one.
Years ago, and that was a fun show. It felt like
Oh, wow.
an old-fashioned Carol Burnett sketch.
I
from
love
beginning
the
to end.
comic thing in that
Yeah.
play.
Yeah, that was a hilarious show.
Oh, it was. I was just rolling in that one. It was just so much fun, and the little twists and turns, and then that little comedic thing is fun.
Yes.
Even though it's a serious subject, you can laugh.
Well, it was hilarious because I remember at auditions for that production, everybody was sitting in the black box theater and just facing the director, and nobody got up to read. The director wanted to hear voices, and people were just sitting in their seats.
Oh.
And I just walked in my work clothes with my big work boots on and had sawdust and paint all over, and just walked through and sat down in the back of the audience, and the director was just going through and picking out people saying, you read this part, you read this part. And they said, Mark, why don't you read Victor Lepew? And I said, okay. And then when it came to my read, this voice came out, and it came out like this, and I started to read like this. And he was a very, very effeminate director. And it was so hilarious because everybody's head just swiveled 90 degrees like that.
And especially if they knew you, they were like,
where
"Who
did
is
that come from?
Oh, my.
And I still recall my wife seeing her expression
Yes.
the night she came to see it. Needless to say, she hates that show. But
I kind of understand that in a way.
That's one of my all-time favorite shows because we just had so much chemistry in it. Yeah.
That's just fabulous.
But that's kind of getting away from what we're here for, which is the tech.
No, but oh, goodness, I just love hearing you talk about that. And what fun, what fun. Now, this is the anniversary year of the Phipps, and they're sort of using the title or whatever, 45th Parallel?
45th Parallel, correct.
Now, what are the other shows that are happening? Or are we pretty much done then?
We're almost through them.
We are almost
Yeah,
through
we
it,
did the 45th Parallel with White Christmas as far as taking
that's
place
right,
in
yeah.
World War II along the 45th
Yes.
at the very beginning.
That's true.
Mulan with China being along the 45th.
Oh, yeah, so
we,
it is. Okay, it does.
Yeah. So we're kind of going along, kind of trying to pick productions that follow along the 45th Parallel. We're also doing Our Town
Oh, yeah.
to kind of tie it in with the town of Hudson.
Oh,
Yeah. And that one will open, I want to say January 16th or 17th, right around that time.
okay. Okay.
Whatever that Friday is. My calendar is just not in my head.
That's okay. I understand because we can always contact the Phipps office
Oh,
or
yes.
go online.
Check to the phipps.org.
So don't worry, it's okay. So now, is that over by summer? Because we haven't really had a big party for the anniversary.
You know,
There must be something more going on down there.
I've got egg on my face. I really don't know.
I
Because I am so.
I think there's a
booked with each
capital
show.
fund drive coming up.
There is a
Yes.
capital fund drive. That
I
we
have
are
heard about that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of a genius thought. I like the idea of that. All the productions are following that theme, kind of.
Yes, that was the idea when all the productions were picked out during the about a year and a half ago.
Wow.
In fact, we are already starting to get into picking out productions for our 2015-2016 season.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Can you give any hints?
No, because we haven't picked them
You're
out.
not
we're
sworn to
getting
secrecy.
No, it's just we're getting into that time of year where we're starting to look at.
Yeah, well, I totally
Scripts.
understand that. But now, as far as Broadway, or do you ever aspire to doing anything that you might really enjoy as far as something that might have been on Broadway or London or whatever? I mean, do you
Well, growing
really get into those productions?
up, I started doing theater shortly after we moved to Fargo from Rochester when I was 4. So I like to tell the story that I started doing theater when I was 4, which would mean 4 decades already. And one of the things that I wanted to be, and I'm not just saying this, but the thing that I always had wanted to aspire to was to be a technical director at a community theater, which is exactly where I'm at.
Oh,
and
wow.
not many people have the luxury to be able to say that.
You nailed
I
that.
went to 7 years of school for it, got 2 degrees, and here I am. Do I ever want to go further? That's a good question. You know, Broadway is certainly a possibility, but that would mean having to pick up and move.
Oh, I know, and this is such a good area
It is.
for
It
a
is.
family.
And my wife and kids
I
love
agree
it.
with you on that totally.
And great place to raise kids. So I would be really hesitant to want to move. The other thing is you know, there is that possibility that I'm going to have to look at that eventually, whether it's going on to a place where I'm totally behind a desk or to the academic world, mainly because you know, I'm in my mid-40s and there's only so much a body can do. I'm feeling the abuse that I put my body through for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
It gets to be hard to recover from each
sure.
show. Yeah.
I'm sure it does. But I was, you know, occasionally I go over to the cities and I just saw Phantom at the Orpheum. That's a super old theater.
Oh yes.
But I really enjoyed it. It was very well done. I've seen it several times, but I'm always comparing because there's different sets.
Oh yeah.
There's different actors. There's different voices. And of course, being a music major, I'm always listening for the voices and seeing who's really good. And, you know, occasionally I'll find one that's just not quite 100% my favorite. But, you know, on the other hand, I just enjoy that kind of thing. And
It's a personal taste.
yeah, definitely. And theater has always been a big deal with me because I never had any opportunities when I was younger. But when I got into teaching, I really got into it. And then that was like little mini shows. You know, I would take Disney shows, but I'd reduce them.
Right.
Yeah. And we do all the songs, but we wouldn't do all the dialogue. That would be way too long. I mean, I had to condense Sound of Music one time. Oh, that was awful because I couldn't get it was so hard to make the connections between the songs.
Yes. The transitions between them
And
all.
it just didn't go that well. So anyway, but what about acting then? Are you going to keep doing that? If the opportunity comes up, that wouldn't be quite as hard on you.
Well, no, that's quite the opposite.
Yes.
Actually, because not only am I responsible for building and, you know, supervising all that
Right.
in the shops, then you're also asking for about 3 hours each night to be involved in a rehearsal. And then you've got the actual productions, and once the productions roll around, typically in my job, when the productions roll around, I'm on to the next show.
That's true.
Yeah, so it takes me away from my family a lot more.
I see.
With my youngest only 4 years from graduating from high school,
Oh my.
maybe in about 4.5 years I might be back on stage. We'll see.
Oh,
but
I hope so.
It also depends on the show.
I hope so, because I remember the first time you were in the show, and I was like, oh, he acts too? I gotta go see this. I gotta see what he can do as an
that
actor.
reminds me when I was in grad school over at the U of M, we were doing the Showboat, the U of M Showboat, and I was the
right.
technical director for the show.
You were?
For 2 years, I was the technical director on the old Showboat.
What fun.
Yes, it was a fabulous time. And one night, I believe we were doing Mousetrap. And it was an equity run, so it was 8 shows over 6 days for 10 weeks, 80 shows. And 80 shows of Mousetrap is about 70 too many. But
Wow.
one night, one of the actors got sick, And so we had talked about canceling the show, and it was a Saturday, so we had two
Oh,
productions that
dear.
night. And I was a grad student in technical theater, and most of the actors were grad students in acting.
Right.
And it was about 60 or 65 productions actual performances into the run. And I said, look, if anybody knows this show as well as you guys do, it's me. I watch it every night because I'm running the light board.
That's right.
And they said, okay. And so we canceled the first show. And the second show I went on, luckily I was almost the same size as the actors, so the costume fit.
Oh, good.
And I just went on with a script in my hand. And I was reading the lines and I was doing all the blocking.
Oh, my.
It was funny when they were working me into the show during the rehearsals, a lot of the MFA actors looked at each other and said, whoa, this guy can act. And so sometimes...
That's so great
Yeah,
that you
a-
did that.
As a technician, though, I think it's a good thing to get up on stage and act once in a while.
Well, I suppose it is.
Because you tend to remind yourself what it is from the actor's viewpoint, as opposed to always seeing it from the technician's viewpoint. And I recall being in a show and somebody said, why are you building those doors so thick? And I was in the show, and there was a point where I had to storm out, and I stormed out through those doors and I slammed them. They were French doors.
Oh,
And the
yeah.
actor said, oh, that's why you built them so hard.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's a good thing to see it from a different viewpoint at times.
There could be a lot of glitches.
There
on
there
that
are.
set building. I mean, if you're really, taking into account what happens, like with those doors. I mean, I've seen things kind of fall apart at times, not at the Phipps, but I mean, just,
Well,
and it's just hilarious.
White Christmas, we had a lot of problems with that show.
Really?
Technically, yes, we did.
Oh.
I usually when a show opens up, I don't touch it again until we take it down.
Right.
But this particular production, I think all 5 weekends I had to take care of something here or there with it.
Really?
And it's not that the actors were abusing the set or the crew was abusing the set, shifting it. It's just the normal wear and tear for some reason was a little bit more so on this.
Oh.
And the biggest thing was the snow.
Really?
The snow. The snow was the biggest problem in that show because we had used 2 layers of snow. We had a layer of fake plastic snow, which was about the middle of the stage, and that was loaded in what we call a snow cradle. It's a piece of fabric that goes between 2 pipes. We call the pipes battens. They went between 2 pieces of pipes, and the fabric is just slitted. And so all you do is you pull the
that's how
line,
you got that effect.
and the line just goes like this, and it shakes the plastic
it.
through the slits in the fabric. But upstage, we had this large barn wall, and the doors would open, and you could see snow behind there. Because of the fact that we had what we call strip lights. These are 6-foot-long lights that are different colors, and they sit on the floor, and they shine up, and that's how you can get different colors on the background. But that was right
Wondered
below.
how you did that.
That was right below where the snow would fall, and if we used the plastic snow, it would melt all over these and cause a fire hazard. So we used
Couldn't use those lights.
well, we couldn't use the plastic snow there. We used a new product, which is it's kind of a chemical snow. Actually, what it is it's little soap bubbles. That's all it is.
No kidding.
It shoots out little soap bubbles, and you can change the size and frequency of the soap bubbles,
I see.
and that'll give you a different feel or different look, whether it's a raging blizzard or just a gentle snowfall.
I never would have thought of that.
So many problems with those snow machines that they were either running through the fluid too fast, or they weren't working. Or I'm still perplexed to this day as to what went wrong with
So
those.
that effect, which was really neat to the audience, I mean, I enjoyed watching that. really caused some issues.
Oh, a lot of issues. And the young gentleman that was running Light Board
Oh,
each
yeah.
night after the show was over
Yeah.
would grab a bucket of water and a rag, and he would wipe down those strip lights.
Oh,
Because
my.
the floor back there from all that snow, when it melted, because we were using so much, when it melted on the floor, it was like if you think of like a movie theater's floor.
Oh,
You
yeah.
walk on it and then your
Oh,
feet
yeah.
just stick. That's exactly what it was like. And so he would wipe down those strip lights
Oh,
every night to try
goodness.
to keep them clean.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah, it's what
Now-
every little effect.
Now, you know, you're such an expert on so many levels, but that light board or whatever you call it, I mean, are you the one that climbs up there and adjusts all those lights, or do you figure that out too?
It depends on the lighting designer.
Oh, okay.
Typically, I would say about 95% of the time, I am the one that's up there focusing the lights. Whether
thought
whether
so.
it's up in the catwalks,
Yeah.
or it's
that's
on the Genie lift that we've got. That's a hydraulic lift that goes up in the air. And
Really?
so I can focus the lights that way. The
okay.
problem
had-
is it gets a little warm up there. And I'm not
I
that
can't
svelte anymore.
imagine.
Yes, yeah.
And it must be very restrictive because
It is, it is.
I can't imagine being
Up in the
there.
catwalks, I actually have to crawl around because of from the
yeah.
catwalk to the ceiling
Ooh.
is probably only about 4.5 feet tall.
Oh man.
For a
And
guy
you're
who's
a big
6',
guy,
a
so
guy who's 6'3", it's not
that's
easy.
tough. And then the sound, don't you do that too?
No, that's something that
Oh, that's a little different area.
I am very, very spoiled in that respect.
Oh,
I did when I was in grad school and undergrad. I did learn.
Well,
some
I
sound.
knew you knew a lot about it because you've helped me. You prepped me for some things.
Well, mainly Tom Dolly. He's my sound
oh,
supervisor.
that's true. Yes, he does very well.
He does about 99.9% of it,
Oh, wow.
of the sound. And so I've been spoiled. I haven't had to touch that at all.
Okay, but it is something that was part of your training, you might say.
It was. It was.
Okay. Well, this has been very interesting. I had no idea you were going to come out with such interesting stories. And I just admire you for what you do there, and you do a wonderful job.
It's, the people, I can't tell you enough, the people of this community.
Yeah.
I'm surprised a lot of people that don't know the Phipps is there.
Well,
But
that's
those
true.
that do are absolute angels. They are. They
I'm
are
amazed at
beautiful
that
people.
too, because people will, I'll say something about the Phipps, and they'll go, "What? What did you say?" I said, "Well, you didn't know we had an art center here?" And not only that, we've got everything. We've got the music, we've got the visual arts. It's just everything is there.
We wouldn't be around if it weren't for people like yourself.
Well, and that's one other thing I wanted to say is volunteers,
Oh,
because
yes.
I hope in our audience there are several people listening that might want to be volunteers at the Phipps. And there's so many ways to do that. And like Mark was talking about building sets, painting, a lot of different things that go on with a show like that. But there's also ushering and
Oh.
every type of job from here to, that they need at the Phipps really is available.
I'm actually getting a little emotional here when I think about my volunteers. They're like family.
Oh, and every year I know there is an award night, and I always enjoy that. And there's so many people that give of their time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get a little emotional too, because I think it's been a great thing for this community.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that the people do that and they come forward and they make it all work. And that's what we really need at that art center. So thanks for pointing that out too, Mark.
You're welcome.
And thanks so much for coming. I
Thank you.
really
Thank you for having
enjoyed
me.
talking to you. I really didn't know a lot about your job, but
That's just
now
the
I
surface.
do know quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I wish you well, and
Thank you very much.
I would love to see you on stage again. I
Well, maybe
thought
someday.
That was
someday.
just a hoot when I could go watch you on stage act. So good luck with that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks again.
Break a leg.
Oh, thank you. No, you too. I'm supposed to say that
Yeah,
to you.
you're not supposed to say good luck, break a leg.
That's right. And so I do hope that if you listened today, you've enjoyed the show. And if you do want to contact the Phipps Center for the Arts, I know there's some phone numbers, and we've had it on the screen before, so I'm sure we'll find it, and also the website. So thanks for watching.